Edler Brothers, Section 13, Schaefer Site, ID number 62427 at 1568 180th Street, Clemens, with changes. MDH Finishers, ID number 62120 at 1671 140th Street, Union, with changes. Mead Family Farms, ID number 61407 at 2234 Summit Road, Marshalltown, with changes. Norman Pork LLC, ID 59367 at 1105 Fairman Avenue, Union, no changes. South Hardin Farms, ID number 65416 at 33857 O Avenue, New Providence, no changes. Tamco Pork, ID number 58267 at 3079 310th Street, Gilman, with changes. Timber Creek Pork, ID number 58019 at 2541 280th Street, Marshalltown, no changes made. This is the end of the consent agenda. I'll entertain motions on its approval, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I will second that. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion, comments, or concerns? There being none, Sherry, roll call vote, please.
Thompson.
Yes.
Clausen.
Yes.
Patton is absent. Motion carries. Item 6 on our agenda this morning is approve renewal Class C native wine permit license WCN 000167 for Buzzed Bee Meadery Incorporated, effective 10/1/2022. I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the renewal Class C native wine permit license WCN 000167 for Buzzed Bee Meadery Incorporated, effective 10/1/2022.
And I will second that. Any further discussion, comments, or concerns? There being none, Sherry, roll call vote, please.
Thompson.
Yes.
Clausen.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 7 on our agenda this morning is to approve contracts, permanent and or temporary easement for F4 bridge replacement property on Jessup Avenue. Discussion and possible action. Paul, you want to give us a heads up here?
Yeah, this is for permanent and temporary right of way for our upcoming F4 project, which is a 102-year-old truss that has served us well and it needs to be replaced. It's on Jessup Avenue. Just let's see, we would be it's Minerva Creek, but it'd be, is it north of 148?
I think so.
I do know where the bridge is. I can't get there.
We haven't lost it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is trying to remember when you're here. That's why it's a little more challenging.
I know it's Minerva Creek. This right of way section is being acquired from Royal Young, and I would like to note that the 0.38 acres of permanent right of way Royals requested to donate. I just would like to personally thank him for his generous consideration on that. The amount is for the agreement includes a temporary right of entry that would, take care of any damages to say fence or row crop, or that's something that we will deal with as the project starts. And then $150 is included as an allowance to update the abstract. If the property is ever transferred, it would be a separate thing that would require some more abstract work that they would do that. So that's the total of the $350.
Okay. I'll entertain motions on this item, please, if there's no further discussion.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion then to approve right of way contracts and right of entry agreement. Royal F. Young, Bridge F4, Bridge BROS swap C064 subsection 115 SE 64, and authorized chair or vice chair to sign contract for a total of $350, which includes right of way allowance to update abstract and temporary right of entry.
And I will second that approval. We have a motion and a second approving this. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? Other than Royal, thank you very much. Very appreciative and nice of you. Any other comments? There being none, Sherry, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Solosik.
Yes.
Saxon.
Motion carries. Item 7B is another temporary permanent easement for the F4 Bridge Replacement Project and possible action on approval for land acquisition contract with Melissa Ream. Paul, you want to bring us up to speed on this, please?
This is the right of way on the other side of the bridge on the same project of Bridge F4. And we reached an agreement with Melissa Ream, and this agreement includes the same allowance to update abstract and the right of entry agreement, and also has an item there for a CRP payment that if Melissa is penalized, there's a portion of what we are acquiring that's currently in CRP, so there's still some years on that. And it will compensate whatever the actual penalty is if there's more than the $360. But that's our total for 2,760 with Melissa Ream, and thank her for coming to an agreement with us without any, further government, involvement.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain motions on this item, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the right-of-way contracts and right of entry agreement, Melissa M. Ream, Bridge F4, Project BROS-SWAP-C064, subsection 115, SE-64, and authorize chair or vice chair to sign contract for a total of $2,760, which includes right-of-way, allowance to update abstract, CRP penalty, and temporary right of entry.
And I will second that motion to approve. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? There being none, Sherry, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Solosik.
Yes.
Saxon.
Motion carries. Item number 8 this morning is to approve the Marshall County purchasing policy. This is a discussion and possible action. This policy was last adopted on April 2nd, 2019, following guidance from FEMA for participation in federal grants. Minor modifications have been made as per the request of another federal program. The attached document also shows the changes. Dan, you want to bring us up to speed on this?
Well, we follow the laws on purchasing here at Marshall County, but we had to have a policy for FEMA. So that was what we developed in 19 following the tornado. Basically, they handed us the document and said, here, this would be great, which is what we did, because it didn't conflict with any of the Iowa laws. They have a few tweaks they want made for a current grant that Kim is working for the Siren Project throughout the county. So we're making the tweaks they've asked.
Is there any significance to these tweaks or extremely boring?
Very boring.
Okay.
But we'll play their silly little game so that they'll be
I
happy
think there's
with
only two
our,
or three little.
little
things.
code change
Yeah.
references. And
At
so-
least they let us know before if we were to get the grant. Yeah. So I'm glad they're staying on top of it.
Yeah.
The state actually is kind of helping us stay on top of.
In doing these changes, is it possibly going to speed any of the grants up that we've applied for? No, this is FEMA.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
sorry.
Yeah, the state's helping us, but yeah, FEMA's got it in their hands right now.
All
So.
right. Please strike that comment.
Yeah.
I haven't had enough coffee. yet
Yeah,
this morning.
something.
Okay. That being said, I'll entertain motions on this item this morning.
I would motion to approve the Marshall County purchasing policy dated 9/13/2022.
And I will second that. We have a motion and a second to approve these purchasing policy changes. Any further discussion, comments, or questions? There being none, Sherry, roll call vote, please.
Thompson,
Yes.
Solosik.
Yes.
Saxon.
Motion carries. Item number 9 on our agenda this morning is the engine brake ordinance, discussion and possible action. We have John Warden here this morning with us, the official or unofficial mayor of Green Mountain that has requested this ordinance. Before we get into that, I would like Sheriff Phillips to make his comments because He's got some items that he wants to bring to our attention. It's in our documents, but Sheriff, could you please fill us in on your thoughts?
You bet. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Again, I apologize. I got a couple different things going on here and I'm not be able to make the meeting in person. So I appreciate this being able to attend by Zoom. I received an email from Supervisor Solosic about an engine brake ordinance. There are some communities, incorporated communities within Marshall County that do have these ordinances. They are on their local ordinances, a simple misdemeanor with a civil fine. The problem where we're running in with where I'm suspecting in Green Mountain, it's unincorporated. So they're really the only alternative to address these issues is either by a county ordinance, and that could either be specifically with engine brake ordinance specifically, or a loud or disorderly conduct through the state code. And this obviously has some hurdles to overcome with both of these. And I'm not quite sure. I'm not up to speed on what has brought this up to this level to bring to at least look at an ordinance. I don't know whether it's from the road closures from the recent accidents from Iowa Select, or whether it's some road construction, some detours from those commercial vehicles that are going through Green Mountain there on Wallace Avenue. I did send Supervisor Solosic an email kind of outlining those obstacles and what could be some possible remedies. And so this is kind of a discussion time.
Do you have a suggestion if we do decide to go down this road, so to speak, that we strictly just limit this to the Jake brake and stay out of the disorderly conduct from an enforcement standpoint?
I think that would be the best remedy. When we get the disorderly conduct, that kind of creates some other problems with the state code and some other communities that had those overcome those hurdles. One, it has to be a specific noise level, a decibel level, and that requires specialized equipment and training. It's not a whole lot, but then when you're looking at 12 patrol deputies issuing out those for specific times, that starts to run into a monetary cost. Being in those specific areas, and especially with this Jake brake, engine brake noise ordinance, you have to be within a specific distance. It has to be measured from a specific distance from the actual violation. So that creates some traffic hazards, some safety issues along a roadway with deputies being out in those areas. I would lean more towards a specific engine brake ordinance if that's what the supervisors wish to do.
Is this going to be an enforcement nightmare for your office?
I think it will be. We don't exactly know the schedules of these commercial vehicles, if these are the only offenders. I think that it's going to be a difficult when it comes to prosecution. This would something be for the county attorney to weigh in. Obviously, we have to determine what device is being used and certify that it is an engine brake. And then there's also those exclusions for those emergency uses for those devices as a mechanical device used as a braking aid. I know there's been some difficulties in prosecuting again those convictions.
Jordan, you want to weigh in on this as a county attorney's perspective?
I'm giving up my chair for somebody who just opened the door. Sheriff Phillips is right. So we'd have to be looking at, we'd have to be able to prove up the distance between where the vehicle was, the violating vehicle was, and where the deputy would be when they make the observation. We'd have to be able to establish that the equipment measuring the decibel level of the engine brake is accurate. We have to be able to prove these things up. We have to be able to prove that we did go over that decibel level. Significant hurdles, but I think we could do it. We never know until we get it. I think we could do it. I do think it's a challenge. And there's a number of logistics we have to do to get there. But I think we could do it. I think it's a challenge. But I think the sheriff is right. I would agree.
Okay, thank you. John, you want to bring this up and speak to your perspective from not only a resident of Green Mountain, but its unofficial official mayor?
Yes, thank you. I live in the 4th block east of Wallace Avenue. And Wallace Avenue is where the engine braking is occurring. And it's not limited to commercial vehicles. It's really any type of semi. Grain haulers, hog haulers, van type semis. And so there's the school district speed limit that is at 35 right now. And that extends slightly north of the school and south of the school past Green Mountain Road. And then, of course, you got the stop sign a little bit further south from the speed zone. So typically, I can hear them starting to break north of the school speed zone and continuing on through the district, through the speed zone district, in preparation for the stop sign, which is coming up soon for them at Garland Road. And so Steve and I talked, I believe it was Wednesday last week, briefly. So from then on, I started counting the times I heard engine brakes. And I counted 9 times up through this morning at 7:15. So, and this includes, in fact, those are mostly at night, in the AM. And so a person might say, well, then in the daytime, it's not an issue. But it is an issue during the day because in this part of the world, we have many people working 3 shifts or working a shift at any time, day or night. So consequently, you have people who are sleeping during the daytime. We don't. We work in the day, sleep at night. But you have people who sleep during the day, so they are affected by the engine brakes as well as those that sleep at night. So if I can hear it 4 blocks away, and I'm near the east edge of Green Mountain. Most of the residents live between me and Wallace Avenue. So they're hearing it more than I do. It's louder to them than it is me. So I would like to see the easiest and first steps taken. Okay, let me back up a minute. I also contacted the, who's listed as a traffic office, I believe that's at JBS. And I explained the situation to him and there was nothing he could do or offer to do. So I thought that was at least a try. And I didn't know if the people in JBS even talks to the drivers that bring the hogs in. I have no idea. But I thought that at least maybe a sign posted to those drivers that do go north, it might help. But he was of no help. So that's why I'm here. And so I'd like to see the county just do the first and easiest steps. It maybe just some signs posted would encourage the drivers to use their brakes instead of their Jake brakes.
Do you recall who you spoke with at JBS?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It was, I looked through through the phone book and I found that it was a traffic division or something. That's what I called. I figured, hey, traffic, must mean truck traffic, and maybe it doesn't, but that's who I talked to.
It might be more effective if one of us reach out to them. They've got a long history of being good corporate citizens. And I think if they were made aware that they might be creating a problem, would want to solve it on their own.
You said you may have some grain haulers too.
Yes, I know. Because I can see, I can look toward the school from my property, and I can look toward straight down Green Mountain Road and see Wallace Avenue from 2 points. So I can, if I hear them, I can look down the road and I can see the truck go by and I can tell exactly what it is. So it's every category of semi. It really is.
So it's not just
one-
green or
No.
it's
No,
everything? Okay.
Everything, yes, yes.
Well, we're obviously not going to be able to take any action here this morning, but we could start the process. What are your thoughts?
Well, can it be as simple as just putting out a sign for now and not having any, trying to put together
I
any?
don't know if we can put out a sign without an ordinance. I can, but
I think you can put out a sign, it just has no weight.
That's,
it just may be.
why not try that?
Yeah, Steve,
I mean,
did you,
You guys can make a sign.
float the idea of just raising the speed limit from 30?
I also, that was another direction that I was considering. And also the sheriff had made mention of it too. What if we went to 45 mile an hour there in front of the school?
Might get some pushback from the school,
Well,
maybe, I don't know, but maybe
I
not.
wouldn't want to increase the speed limit in front of the school.
You know, we got a parking lot between the school and the road there
Schools for the north.
and a ditch. Would 45 through there be a bad idea?
Got 14-and-a-half-year-olds pulling out there.
You also have the.
School permits are.
No, there's no.
Steve, if I can add, Steve,
Age.
Well, Sheriff Phillips is trying to get in here.
Steve, if I can add, we have seen some of the communities in these situations that there are, in fact, there's some in Marshalltown where they do install a yellow light where those lower speed restrictions will be during a certain time period when school is in session. We are very proactive on our speed enforcement in that area. And in a lot of our traffic violators with those speeds, they do say, you know, they didn't realize that it drops so quickly, and why is there a speed restriction, say at 3 o'clock in the morning or on weekends when school is not in session. So we do have those conversations with the motorists. We try and educate them, but I do know there is those options. I would be concerned on dropping it from 55 to an automatic 25 during that school zone area. I would like to see at least a progression if that's the route that the county would like to go. But I think it can be done with 45 through there when there's little to no traffic volume. I think that would be acceptable. Given the last traffic data that the DOT had run, like I said, I think in the last 10 years we've had 4 motor vehicle crashes within that area, and most of those have been north and at the stop sign. So
That's an elementary school. There's no students
Okay.
driving there.
Because all the schools in Green Mountain, Garwin.
I'd like to hear from the school system too, see what their thoughts. So we don't open a can of worms that we can't close.
Dave, may I say something?
Absolutely.
Patrick Cornwell. That area, when I went to school there, it was controlled by the yellow flashing light during the day. We had schoolmates of mine would cross the road from Green Mountain to where the bus barn is at now and where the school used to sit. And when they moved the school up to the north, all of a sudden it became a 35-mile-an-hour zone through there. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there, that it used to be that way.
And those flashing lights, they're gone, Pat?
Yeah, those have been
They moved
removed.
to school, okay. You have any more thoughts, Paul?
Just that most of our other residential areas in the county where we have an FM route going through are reduced to 35. I think that only one that's different is Ferguson, and it only drops to 40. But the rest of them, when we go through, some of them reduce to 25, but you're coming into a smaller town with, say, a stop condition somewhere inside of it.
The Beamon's the same way, it's not Marshall, but it goes down to 35 minutes.
Yeah, it'd be very similar to Laurel. With the school on the south side, Laurel's 30, I think. Yeah.
I might also add that the deputies do a good job of periodically cruising through town and patrolling the speed on walls in that area. They're there at good intervals. So we're thankful for that and appreciate it.
Well, I think it's something we should address, but at the same time, I think it's something we should reach out to both JVS and the school system and not take any action on this today or start the process and do some further investigation and come back and revisit it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Okay. I don't think it's necessary for us to table this. I think it's, we said we were gonna have discussion and possible action, but why don't we do that? Reach out and make our contacts and come back and revisit this. In the meantime, it probably wouldn't hurt if you could come back possibly with a petition signed by individuals that are residents of Green Mountain.
Okay.
You know, numbers speak.
Okay.
And that will get everybody's attention a little bit better. I don't have any other thoughts on this at this time. I want to be very cognizant of the enforcement issue both between the sheriff and the county attorney's office, so that we're not putting them in a position where they're spinning their tires.
Right.
Something that literally
Yeah.
can't be enforced.
Mhm.
Anything else on this matter before we move on? John, appreciate your time. Thank you as always.
Thank you.
And let's see what we come up with. We're going to move on to item number 10 on our agenda this morning, which is the ARPA items to review and possible scope changes. This is discussion and possible actions to the 911 communication recordings full recording radio / phone system ARPA funding discussion and possible action. Dan, you want to speak to this, or do you folks have your thoughts?
I can go ahead and start.
Okay.
So basically, I think this came up because, number one, there is a question here. There's really no scope changes. Okay. So let me go ahead and take a step back, because when we approved this, it was for the 911 communications backup site mitigation, resiliency, ESF configuration of the EOC. So basically what I was looking to do is, because of the fact that for Marshall County, we don't have really any kind of backup. We've gone through several disasters, and that was a major problem. So my original plan is I wanted to have this out at the Marshall County Sheriff's Office. Okay. So, and these are two completely separate funds. So the $100,000 for the recorder, that's a completely separate. So what we're talking about today, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, is they do have them both. So that's why I guess I'm curious, because there's no changes to the recording system. As far as the backup site, so, you know, one of the original things that we sat down as a committee to do is that we want to make sure that we're using these funds with the most diligence we can possibly put forward. And in that, the plan is okay, we need to be diligent in funding. And as you know, in my budgets, I'm very diligent in my funding or my expenditures. So we're looking at, okay, well, how can we accomplish this? And then make sure that we put money back in ARPA. Well, if I do it out of the sheriff's office, which I can absolutely do, that seems to be the problem, but I'm going to spend the whole $400,000. Okay, that doesn't make sense. In the grand scheme, in the long term, that really doesn't truly make sense. So we kind of went with another backup plan. This still gives me my backup site, my mitigation, my resiliency, because if something happens, I need a place for my dispatchers to go. And this, in doing the command bus, that actually creates an even better environment, not only for my 911 dispatchers and the community of Marshall County, because we can take that and go to any community based on if there's a tornado, if there's a disaster, if something happens. We can, you know, put ourselves in a position to better help the county. Plus, it's not going to take the $400,000. We're going to be able to put money back into the ARPA funds.
Okay, so it sounds like there's no action to be taken.
I have some discussion though. That I want to have.
Let's have it.
I had conversation with Raycom here this last week.
Mhm.
It sounds like if they have a unit in Des Moines that is available to the whole
That is
state.
different.
That is a
Yeah.
completely different situation. So do you want to?
Yep, and so the state has what's called a communications trailer.
Mhm.
You have to go through a process, so let's say the tornado is a good example. When they were, yep, or derecho is a good one too. When the tornado hit, there were several counties that were hit. Von Grant obviously had some tornadoes. We had tornadoes. There were other tornadoes in the state that day. So there were multiple events. Derecho, same thing, multiple events. That communications trailer is for state dispatch first.
Mhm.
So they will dispatch into that, and it's basically a backup site for the state dispatchers.
Mhm.
Second would be Polk County, because they work with the state, and so they have multiple PSAPs or 911 centers down there. So they would be the next one to get that. It's like an RV, kind of, sort of, it's a trailer. And then it would go out to counties if available, but you also have to wait in line. So if there's a thing like the derecho, yes, could they get it here? Possibly. During the tornado, we requested state
We're about 20 in
resources.
line.
Yeah, we
I mean, we're not-
requested just
It's not gonna
a
happen.
small trailer with the backup satellite and antennas.
Mhm.
We didn't get it for almost 36 hours.
Yeah.
So we were basically dead in the water, thank God, that we had some communications, even though Raycom got hit. We were able to move into there, use some handheld radios and make it work. But that trailer actually took a long time just to get to us. And that was a small trailer. That wasn't this big one that they have built now. So yes, there is a trailer at the state, but it isn't like it's gonna be here in an hour. It's not gonna be here when you need it every time.
And
So
then-
it is a shared resource.
And the goal of this is to not have to do what we did, and we had to literally, and I wasn't here during the tornado, but I was here during the derecho, and you had to literally piecemeal things together, okay? So the goal of this is to not have to do that. You have an automatic location, I have resiliency for 911. That is not something that we can just shut down. We need to have communications within Marshall County for emergency services. In doing it in this aspect, it allows that cost savings, so that money can go back into ARPA. And it allows for what the needs are. So there's no scope change. It's still for the 911. It just allows even a little bit more of a broad spectrum, so we can utilize that for emergency services.
I guess I should have asked more questions 2 weeks ago when we were doing this.
Yeah.
And that's,
Is your intention now that then to set up an RV?
no, not just a
No.
trailer.
It-
So-
Just a
It's a
trailer?
trailer.
You're just gonna do a trailer?
So
Yeah, it's
Marshall
cool.
County PD had one for many years,
Yeah.
and since we were located in that location, they did have a one station. It was not really a 911 station, but it was a
Right.
communication station in there. It's since been scrapped, and I know I talked about that a little bit, but it was older and it needed to be, too much money needed to be put into it for what it was used for. So basically, it was a trailer, just like we're looking at. The trailer, we would also like to do some of the other things that we had in that line item. Configuring of that EOC. So if we need to we have an EOC, Emergency Operations Center at the Sheriff's Office. Marshalltown has their own Emergency Operations Center at the new PD. They can run that separately, although we usually run them in conjunction with each other. You can also take these trailers out and move them, like she was just saying, so you can go to the area that needs it. Let's say just our southeast corner was hit and we need to be in that area. No, not only can 911 run out of that, because she has, even if the 911 center is up here, you have overload of 911 because of the situation going on down there. You can put your extra tactical dispatchers in that trailer, really dedicated for that area. We can run incident command from that trailer and be in conjunction with your communication, so you're all talking on the same level. So if you have an incident, all this can go, but also running an incident command / emergency operations center locally. Most of our other cities, if they're gonna run an emergency operations center locally, They're gonna use the fire station. Well, you're already busy. We found that out here in this building when we tried to run an emergency operations center, an incident command center, bring your kit and come center, I mean, it was overrun and it did not work well. We made it work, but you have too much commotion. You get a trailer, you set up, we actually borrowed a trailer that day. We pulled it down from Hardin County, it set out back. And we used that for our incident command center once we got it here, just to get people away from the just tons of people. You have people wanting well wishers and people bringing food and people thinking that they can help with a shovel and
Donations.
whatever, which is good, but you get too much going on. So when you've got that trailer, it really does isolate you, but from that crowd, but it also is movable. So not only are we gonna solve the 911 backup problem if we have a 911 system failure, but we also can accentuate that or help that when we have an incident within the county and we need to move that to.
Is there an opportunity then to, we've got a Bluebird bus that
Yeah,
needs to
and
go away.
And yeah, that's what we're talking
Yeah,
about,
and
trying to
that's what we're-
totally get that gone. And so that's gonna.
So-
pull
Could
the-
that be a part of
Yes, it
the
is
sheriff's
a part.
department?
Correct.
Your
Yes.
plan is to
Yes.
have that.
Yes,
All
so,
one.
so basically what this is going to do, and this is the discussion that the sheriff and EMA and myself have had, that, so in the true nature of a 911 backup site, it's literally 911, nobody touches it, nobody can go in, nobody can do anything. This is going to be something that can be utilized multiple times throughout the year. It's truly going to be able to be utilized for the exercise that we had out at the college. Bill was there. I know he's not here today, but he was able to see what, they can do. And when you have, dispatch in with the command center and EMA and being able to truly work in an event or any kind of a situation or a crisis, that's going to be, it's essential. It truly is. And we'll be able to use it through, all of emergency services.
I wasn't aware that the sheriff's department was going to be able to
Yeah,
be a part
and that
of
was,
this.
that's why we brought Joel in on this too, is like,
This is
he
great.
knows, that thing's leaking and you can't find parts, he's told me
Right.
about that, it really needs to be gone.
Yeah.
I think it was
And-
old
and-
when we got it, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was.
And that was
And that's
20
gonna
plus
eliminate
years.
the fees and the money. Plus, the way it's configured inside, you don't have room for an instant command to sit 10 people around a table and run communications. In a trailer, you're gonna be able to, have, our goal is to have basically 2 rooms, our instant command room and our communications room. It'll work for hazardous materials events, it can work for, any myriad of things that you can think of, which I really.
And it's-
like.
Okay, just
For
for
us,
clarification,
for-
there's not gonna be 2 rooms within this trailer.
No.
This
It's-
is a small
it's a
trailer
wall.
that gets hauled
It's a
behind.
wall.
the
Yeah,
vehicle.
Yes.
it's just a
Yes.
walled
Okay.
off, so that you're working in the same area. She can pull a door so it's quiet in your
Yeah.
dispatch. Yeah, it's not 2 rooms as in huge, but it's just 2 rooms that we can separate. But we can also open it up and work together.
So we're looking at something like maybe an enclosed car trailer. It's 24 feet long.
Yeah, we're looking at, we've looked at various amounts of different room and configurations.
Twin
on-
axle.
Right,
Yeah.
twin axle, yeah.
Big
Basically,
deal.
and it's going to be, it's not anything going to be like, okay, the state trailer, that's like an over glorified trailer. It's not going to be
yeah.
like that because we have to think Marshall County and what do we need from Marshall County? And
We don't
that's
need
what,
fancy, we don't need
right,
LED
But we need it
lights and all the,
functional.
fancy things,
Right.
but
but we need it functional.
we need it to be wired for communications.
Yeah. Yep.
And we need to have room to coordinate and cooperate together,
Right,
but still stay within this scope, because it's definitely within the scope that we applied, and like Rhonda was saying, 400,000 would probably barely touch what we need to do at the sheriff's office to get, IT is gonna take every bit of that and then some to get antennas and satellites and wiring and just to outfit a room that's gonna sit there and be empty most of the time.
Okay.
so this makes way more sense
Mhm.
because the benefit and the value add to Marshall County, it's gonna be exceeding.
It's possible there may be some funds left over in
Yeah.
what we've allocated for
Right.
this.
Yeah.
That we can roll over into Paul's request for paying it.
Yep, that was my
Yeah.
thought too.
Let me just tell you, the first one, there's no funds left over.
Yeah, the first one, we were still trying to go, okay, can I pull from a different grant, which we can't, because we can't work ARPA and a grant together. And then we were thinking about my budget and hers is already tight, and we were trying to think, how can we supplement this
Right.
at the sheriff's office after having buildings and grounds and IT evaluate it? It was a great idea. It's just, we're way out there and it's an old building.
Okay.
Put it that way.
Well, and I'm also on the other side of that recorder system, since you do have it down, I'm gonna be making that purchase this week. So there's going to be a slight, not a huge amount, but there's gonna be some left over from that. I'm not gonna need the full $100 from that.
Is there also options when I've listened to a lot of 911 meetings and learned a lot. I'm still not very smart about it. But they keep talking about other county options that we can also do 911 dispatch to shared counties on
No, they're
something
talking about
system,
shared
Sarah.
services on Sarah.
So you could have
The
Tama
radios that
County
we
come
have-
over and they could work if they had a problem over there and work here locally.
I actually have that set up within our communication center, so I've been able to build an area. Now, we have to have some 28E agreements, we have to have some MOUs in
Mhm.
place. But that is something in my forethought that I've actually spoken to the commission on, so that we can be, basically, I'm building us to be like the Mecca.
But if
of-
something happened here, we could
Yes.
go the other direction too. The
Exactly.
technology is there
Yes.
to,
It's not there in a lot of the other counties. She's actually building a resource for people to come here, but this trailer then allows
Allows
travel.
for,
So if we had a disaster, but also if someone else, so if you want a 2080 where others can, work together, definitely could.
and that's like down the road, but yes, that is something that is in consideration.
It does help for training too, so that you can train with other counties, and that was kind of the thought of the one at the sheriff's office. We could bring other counties in, train so that if heaven forbid, we didn't have dispatchers, when a disaster hits, it hits our responders' homes and things too. So trying to cross-train so that we can work together, maybe bring some others in from another county to supplement what she needs
Okay.
if we have a disaster, so.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you share it then with
Oh, yeah.
other
Yeah, it
counties that we
definitely, I
have
mean,
2080 with.
it's like any other thing that we do. There's really not any county lines. I mean, we have 28E agreements, but we also have IMAC and EMAC where there's already agreements in place that, just like if I leave, people will come in here to supplement until I'm back, or I do the same thing for Story. It's just what we do, we do share. As far as the trailer being shared, it's definitely a bigger resource. It's not something we're just gonna hand over, but it's things that we can work through. But working with the sheriff's office, and Joel can talk about his part of it, is definitely a must on this, because they need, they've dispatched out the old RV several times in the last couple of years. And, it can be dead in the water out there because you can't fix it. Yeah, you just can't fix it. So Joel, would you have anything else to say about use of the trailer or the RV?
I think you guys covered it fairly thoroughly. Like I said, I think this is something that will be utilized, not only with our agency, with EMA communications. It's more of a versatile trailer than what we currently have. Obviously, going to take collaboration with IT and some buildings and ground stuff to make sure this is something that's going to be useful to its full potential.
Yeah, good. This is questions I should have asked 2 weeks ago, so
Okay.
thank you for sharing this and you making it more clear. So.
Any further discussion or clarification on this by anybody before we move on? Okay, let's move on to 10B, which is 911 communications backup site mitigation / resiliency and ESF configuration of EOC ARPA funding discussion and possible action.
And that's kind of what.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
a mouthful. I think we just got that.
Yeah, so
We just
did both of
So
them
we got
together.
both of these covered
Yep.
and no action to be taken on either. Okay, without Bill here this morning, we're going to leave item 11 where it is. He's been working hard on that. And we're going to move into item 12 on our agenda this morning, which is public forum. This is the time set aside for the public to make comments on topics of county business other than those listed on this agenda. No action will be taken on any of these topics brought up in public forum. Who's got anything for the good of the order other than Nan?
Man, just
James already looked at
chomping
me.
a bit.
Okay, go ahead.
October 10th, we will have to be closed at the bank because it is a federal holiday. And I think I mentioned that we were working on employee training day. We're going to have it at the sheriff's office. Met with Kim and Ben Baran last week. We have a schedule ready. So that will be going out so that we won't be giving those folks the day off. We will be having
Shuffle them out
some
there. Okay.
required training, working with wellness to try to get some things for them to share as well. So we've got a lot of things going to be going on. It'll be a full day.
Okay,
How far reaching are we on required?
As many people as possible, and we will be making some makeup dates on some of the other things. So like the Stop the Bleed, I was required to get all departments that were within the annex and the courthouse trained, but then obviously COVID hit and we couldn't do that, and you guys were still not in the courthouse. So we're gonna try to get as many trained as we can on Stop the Bleed because of the grant that I got for those kits that I'll be putting in there. We'll do as many as we can, then we're gonna do some like lunch and learns to catch up the rest of the people. Alice was kind of the same thing, run, hike, bite, Alice, whichever one you want to call it. I know Ben was talking about trying to get as many people caught up on that as possible. And then if we have to, we're definitely gonna do some lunch and learns kind of thing too. I know like the courts, they have to get caught up.
The
on
courts
that.
have to get caught up. So Jordan has reached out to those folks as well. So they're all just kind of waiting for the information. So we're,
And we're gonna.
I'm
cover
thinking
the
we
whole
could maybe
report.
record as well and allow that as an option for folks that miss it.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard for you to have all 4 of your people
It
not
is.
working the same day, but you know,
Make it work.
is what it is, you know,
Yeah.
so some people just be sick or something like that. So we need to offer some makeup options. So we're kind of, I was
And
gonna,
most of that you can do with, like you said, with a video training or recording, and then maybe just make up the hands-on part later.
later. Mhm.
So we can go through the little drill, which we're gonna have to drill the Alice run, hike, fight when we get into. the
When we get
courthouse
into the
anyway.
courthouse, there'll be
Yeah.
some additional,
Right,
when
and
we
that'll
get
be
in there.
something then you can either do annually or biannually or whatever you wanna do, once you get going, but if we can get everybody on the same playing field, so we all know what to do, same thing with Stop the Bleed, we can do some catch-ups,
okay.
yeah.
yeah.
Anything else for public comment for the good of the order? Okay, there being none, we'll move on to adjournment. The next regular session is September 27th, 2022 at 9:05 a.m. All business to be acted upon at that session should be submitted to the County Auditor Recorder's Office or the Board of Supervisors Office by Wednesday, September 21st, 2022 at 12 p.m. There being no further business to come before the board, this meeting is adjourned at 9:57 a.m.